Trading Addicts, what's going on? It is a late night weekly watch list, and this is your host, Jeff Kohler, aka Option Addict, from over at www.tradingaddicts.com. Heading into this week, guys, I got a number of setups here, but as for the market, I'm a little bit shaky in terms of direction right now, which I think you find most traders that are. I will tell you one thing, though. There were a couple signals that set up on Friday. The swing trading and some of the bigger macro indicators that I tend to like to use when I'm trying to get a read on the market in the last few weeks have been kind of all over the place. They rarely have lined up to really form a really good bullish or bearish bias. But on Friday, a couple things looked really, really good. Let me start with just the basic setup. The S&Ps, as you know, on Thursday and Friday took out their last swing low. The last swing low that happened there towards the end of May. You'll notice that when you look at the Russell, which I always pay really close attention to the Russell, in opportunities where it can become can step up and be a leader or a laggard. And the one thing about the Russell here is that even into the weakness that the market has seen, the Russell didn't take out its prior low, which I think is an important bullish divergence to be watching. Of course, it could fail on Monday. It could all go to hell in a handbasket and it won't matter. But on Friday, it stood that test, which is always important at the turning points. The next thing that I saw into this market weakness is that copper, copper's actually been up. So while the S&Ps have been going to new relative lows, right, good lower highs, lower lows, copper hasn't. Now, this could all just be one bear flag. It could mean nothing, but there was another strong divergence here where copper did not take out its prior low, and yet it was actually up on Friday when all else was down. Last but not least is the IYR. Now, you have to be with us on a day-to-day basis to understand how powerful of a divergence indicator that this truly is in terms of timing market dip by opportunities. But the IYR was resilient under some pretty strong volume, and that trend is still not only really strong, but that divergence was there. And that's something that we haven't been watching, well, we've been looking for, but it hasn't set up. And yet, a few months back when it was setting up, it was 95% effective. So these three things altogether, I think, are signaling some possible upward movement, but the bulls have to really step up to the plate here and take the opportunity to push stocks higher. The one thing that I don't like about all this right now is we haven't really got an oversold reading in equities. In fact, the McClellan closed at -30 on Friday, which is a long shot from being oversold. That's the one thing that I still am a little cautious about, is we've yet to get an oversold reading in the last few months of this lower channel. So it's like part of me is really just waiting for that last flush, right? Maybe seeing an S&P down at about 1275 to get that oversold reading, and that being the pretty good opportunity to buy the next dip that sets up the next big rally. But as far as the S&Ps are concerned, we might at least try to probe to the upper end of this channel this week, and that's kind of what things look like to me. Now, again, all those divergences we talked about could be invalidated here at the beginning of the week, and it could mean nothing. But those have me with just a slight bullish bias here heading into the week. So based on that, a lot of the setups we're going to look at are a little bit more bullish, so just bear with me. We'll get through them. I'll have all setups, both bullish and bearish, posted over at Trading Addicts later tonight, though. So let's start with a couple of price patterns that I'm watching. Now, this SWN, which was very, very strong on Friday with some huge volume. You got to see that thing going to new highs this week. That's something that hasn't broken out yet. I think you want to be a buyer, but if you look at this longer term, there's a really nice little rounded bottom that sets up, and there's a pretty good volume pocket overhead where this stock could see 50 if the market was supportive of a rally here. So the little ascending triangle, as a disclaimer, I'm already long calls. I've been long calls for a little while here, but I think you got to be looking for that breakout and then eventually seeing that price target of 50. I like this pattern that's setting up in RIM. To me, looks like there's a couple of ways you can look at this, but if Win sees a little bit of bounce come Monday morning, I think this is a spot where you want to try it, looking for a move to the highs. But that's, again, it's right on the verge here. If it opens up a little bit lower, gets down to that 50, not as interested. But if it holds here, turns up a little bit tomorrow, I think you want to try for those highs, maybe even a breakout. Casinos have been trading pretty well lately too. One of my favorite setups this week is this Acme packet. Tried this earlier in the week, got stopped out, and on Friday it was one of those stocks that just was up all day, regardless of market weakness. So I'm looking for this little wedge, looking to see a breakout of this, which I think is going to be pretty fast when it moves. So that's one of my favorites here that I'm watching. Cup and handle type setup here in Petrohawk and HK. Looks like a decent spot to try a dip. Using this maybe the 20-day, 50-day moving average as a place to manage the position, but looking for a breakout here into market strength, I think makes a lot of sense. I was thinking maybe watching this Atlas Pipelines. I'm so on this move that we saw here on Friday. Looked like a breakdown, but it wasn't really on any kind of volume. Prices have coiled up pretty good here. I think it's worth a look if it holds. One of my favorite triangle patterns here, though, is ATML, ATML. I think that one here at the 50-day is definitely a good dip by location. Another tech stock that I like here is EMC. There's a little bit of trend support that you can follow through here, so it's pretty manageable in terms of the dip by location, but also the fact that the highs are here, just kind of a, I don't know, little cup and handle type looking setup. I think EMC looks fantastic. Melly, which for the last couple days has tried to break out from this little pattern here. There's been a couple days where it's tried to run, but I'd like to look at this. I think if that market can hold up, the stock's going to want to take out its highs, possibly get closer to that $100 mark. So if you can get it somewhere here around 90, I think it's worth a shot. It's pretty manageable here too. And then there's KWK, which has been coiling up for a little while too. Again, I think the market can stabilize. This stock hasn't really gone down into market weakness, but if the market holds up, this might be something that might want to try to break out and make a little bit of a move. Dip by setups that I like are going to be stocks like ANR. They're going to be stocks like Crocs. I like the spot here in Freeport a lot. I love the setup in Cypress Semiconductor if it holds. I'd probably try something like Patriot Coal, just down here near its lows, manageable trade. And then the financials, if they want to start moving, I think you got to try a Goldman or a Bank of America, just based on where they're at. As far as some of the bearish setups, the refiners look pretty heavy. Stocks like VLO, even Holly, kind of a bearish, looks like a bigger, longer-term head and shoulders type pattern. And then you've got like Tesoro. Tesoro looks like it's about to break down. Those refiners look pretty heavy. And then as far as other just setups, I mean, there's stocks like NETL and C-Trip, that are good sell the rip candidates. Like I said, I'll post all those on Trading Addicts this week. But a couple of the little $10 darlings that I like here, I'll run through those just real quick. Cool, COOL. The way that it's, just look at a 5-day chart when you get a second. That looks pretty good. EMKR, another good setup right here. PSTI, that's all coiled up here, looking ready to go. QTWW, I got a few more here somewhere. Looks like a decent spot. VRML, Hill. This Hill looks lovely, actually. That thing was pretty active there on Friday. I got a little piece of it. I'd like to see it move a little bit. But level 3 looks like a pretty good dip by location. Open Wave, same thing. OPWV, just a couple of ideas I'm going to be watching for. So you can see I've got, I got what, like 25, 30 names that I'm watching. But I think you got to have a list of your favorites, and go pretty diverse here. Because if the market does want to start to bounce, and we see some upside, then you got to have a pretty good list with as weak as stocks have been. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here, guys. Wish you the best of week in your trading. This has been the Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic week.